agenda item.
We're calling the meeting to order, and I'm going to look at the first agenda item, which is reviewing and approving the minutes of the January 12th, 2023 meeting. Do I have somebody motioning to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
And seconded, and all in approving the minutes. So we are unanimously approve the minutes. The second item on the agenda is to actually file the proposed schedule for the rest of the year's EDC meetings. And as I put in the agenda, I set it up that it would be in person, 6 p.m., second Thursday of every month. So do I have a motion to?
Moved.
Moved.
Second.
Seconded. And everybody's approved the dates. Great. So those two things are done. So next is update on the proposed tax incentive. So I had a meeting
Okay.
with Beth, Jeremy, the town attorney,
Oh, good. Jerry Warner.
Jerry Warner, thank you, and Tony Genovese, who's the financial person
Finance,
of
yeah.
the town. Anyway, so the gist of it is that they really think this is a great idea, but that after thinking about it and musing on it, they would prefer that we, on a case-by-case basis, look at opportunities for tax abatement for investments, and rather than have a stated program, to allow more flexibility and to individually review any proposal that comes our way that's asking for or looking into tax abatement. They also
How does that work legally, though?
This is how it was originally written, and we removed that language.
okay, well, there,
No, but if you don't have
the town attorney said that that's already absolutely appropriate
okay.
to function that way, and that it would be preferred to continue to. And the thing that they actually want to add now is that any entity that's coming in that wants to ask us about tax abatements, they should submit their proposal to this group, to the EDC, for review and commentary goes to the Board of Selectmen.
So how does that get
Doesn't
communicated?
actually require any changes according to town attorney.
No, but how would that get communicated to business owners or to landowners?
You have to go through realtors.
Like,
I understand your question. The impression I got is that they were more interested in doing a tax abatement on a project if the proposer of the project wanted to discuss that, rather than advertising
right.
a tax abatement program.
Well,
So it's sort of a back pocket thing if we're engaging with, say,
It would be, and it would be
developers or
negotiable.
landlords.
It would be dependent on the project, how it benefits the town, with all the potential variables.
I mean, so this latter part kind of makes some sense because it's like we're kind of just doing like a quick, like screen to see if it's like something that's
Would be appealing.
like truly like appealing, viable, and so
And
on.
meaningful, maybe.
And meaningful before they waste time trying to get on the agenda of the selectmen, right?
Correct.
So I think there's.
Or to be like a gatekeeper for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going back to that first change where they wanted to. What was that again? Can you?
Essentially, that we have the ability, the town has the ability already to negotiate individually with anyone on for a tax abatement. So that's there, done. And the way they want to handle it is that when there's a request for it with a proposal, that it come to us
Oh, okay.
for a review, and then we would pass it over to the Board of Selectmen with our comments.
Okay. I mean, if any of these items are somehow like restrictive or prohibitive in terms of trying to attract new business or business improvements,
Well, for example, we could say, you know how we were talking about, we want to talk to business people? We can say,
Yeah.
if you're interested in improving your property, we'd be able to work with you.
Yeah.
Submit your ideas.
Right.
So that, they'd rather do that rather than say, here is a predetermined plan for you to review.
So that gives us latitude maybe on
All-
the depth
all the con-
or the terms.
Sure.
Or,
And it might be appropriate depending on the size of whatever it is.
right. Okay.
And this wasn't really a discussion. This was me getting information, super clear. You know, it's not like
Right.
it was just, here's our response to the proposal that you, Scott and Brian, sent our way.
Right. So I think we're probably all spinning on why.
Do we?
Like what the advantage, they didn't really give you any insight on that, right? I mean,
Other than the flexibility of being able to
work different
work
terms.
different terms depending on the situation.
Do we? Do we? Do we have to?
Do we have to, but?
Do we have to not put forward a proposal to the Board of Selectmen?
Well, in a sense, we just did. And we're told we don't want to proceed with,
Okay.
in bringing that into regulation.
It's their prerogative to add it to the agenda, so if they're not gonna add it to the agenda,
yeah.
right?
Right, we were always making a proposal to see, here's our best shot and what we think would be a good idea. And the response was, it's a nice idea, but we think we have a better way of doing it, and here's the way we're going to do it, not.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I understand their point,
Yeah,
but I think
do
that
too.
there's also a PR problem, because I don't
Well,
think,
yeah, thank you.
I don't
because that's
think
where I'm
that-
at, yeah.
a newer landowner or business owner, maybe someone who's been around for a long time would know to ask for a tax incentive, or someone
Right.
who's done business in other towns would know to ask for a tax incentive, but I think some people would not even think to ask for that.
So
We use.
that's a good point. So is the hang up like, why would we offer something that we would get anyway, right? And so a way to, I don't know. Like I said, we're all probably just trying to
So what if we
infer what.
What if we still took our proposal, but used it as a starting document, so that we could provide that to either landlords or
We
companies?
could,
Say,
but it
this
wouldn't
is-
be, you wouldn't be able to say, this is what's already,
It's not a proposal. It's
Yeah.
more of a. Depending on what you're thinking
I-
about doing, here is what
You
the
could do that.
EDC would be looking for. At least it would be allowed for. We would be able to go to them and say, hey, can you, when you go to make your proposal, here's kind of the gist of what we expect to get from you.
you could. Or you could say, we could still carry the same message, but say, you're welcome to propose your idea. You're interested in improving your property or doing some significant change. Feel free to put a proposal out there
Right.
that we could,
That's what I
work
mean.
with.
Though, is instead of it being a program, as they're calling it, we would be able to use the current document we've come up with, maybe reshape it a little bit, but at least use that as a starting point to say, hey, if you're considering a refurb or a remodel, these are some of the things that we as the EDC would be willing to work with you on to develop a proposal for.
Maybe just at a minimum, have a paragraph on our section of the website.
Sure, that says, and if you're interested, and
If
that
you're
would probably,
planning,
that would be probably more in sync with
major
what I was
investment in
hearing.
your property,
Yes, that would be more in sync with what, the response I think we got.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing that I'm getting caught up on is like, is this public information? And if we make this change, is it gonna be difficult to uncover this information by, a business owner or a prospective business owner or somebody? I mean, That's what I'm concerned, because the whole purpose of this is to help grow business, and
Yes.
I mean, we're all very well aware that business needs to be developed in this town.
Yes.
So I feel like this is like,
Well, you know-
it's almost sounding like it's somewhat constrictive, but if it's not gonna be constrictive, then.
I don't think it's supposed, I don't think the idea was to make it constrictive.
Okay.
I think it was to be flexible. But I do think it might make sense to do what Cleo just said about getting it on on the EDC website, on the town website.
Right.
Because we have other things about starting a business in Woodbridge, right? So we could put something in there that say, you know, interested in improving or growing a business in Woodbridge, and, you know,
I think if you publish this as it is, Sean, and you go out, right, then these are the terms, and now it's almost like an entitlement versus
that would be my fear. of
the
doing
town
that.
has a little more control and say, right?
Mhm.
Again, we're all like kind of speculating on what the
Yes,
rationale is.
right. We got the answer. We just don't have the rationale behind the answer.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't use the word entitlement, because I mean, from the get-go, the way it was written up is that ultimately it would be the decision of.
It still was gonna be a selectman, they could
Right.
have rejected it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, true.
So I mean, I think I guess we don't have a say in it, because you're saying this is the decision.
Correct.
So, but
That was-
I mean, consequently, I think we should like try to market and advertise the heck out of this to
Right.
like offset any sort of.
Here's what you run the risk, though, right? Is you get down the road with a potential opportunity, and then it ultimately has to go. What they're saying is, bring us. Right? They're ultimately the board of selectmen, are ultimately going to approve whatever it is.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we don't have any sort of pre-approval, like, hey,
Correct.
we like the idea, we like the term, so we could come all the way back with something and
That's why I would be leery
Then
of
it's
putting
going
a specific thing out. I
to
would
get
simply say,
football.
give us
right?
your proposal and we'll comment on it, and, you know, we'll share it with the board.
Yep.
No, and I more mean like, what are the things that would be considered proposals, so that people could say, okay, I'm gonna consider personal property. We're gonna consider personal property, we're gonna consider real estate development, we're gonna consider it, you know, a threshold, you know, there's no threshold that we're.
I think it's just more on a one-on-one basis, if we get out and you have some targets, and then you can say, okay, and another thing to consider, right? Or if you know, say someone was gonna do a project like Crest did, right? And you were engaging them, then this is another incentive to do something like
Right.
that. But it's gonna start with us having conversations first, and having this as a tool
Yes,
to help increase it, spur it, whatever. I mean, but it's not something like Woodbridge has got, you know, we go out and advertise like, hey, Woodbridge has got a tax abatement program, come get it.
right.
Right? Like,
The Wallingford model,
is that,
Is that what they do?
I think so,
Wow, okay.
they have a billboard.
and they have electric rates too that are pretty low. Yeah.
Yes, they do, don't they?
Absolutely.
So I've read.
Yeah.
Public utility or something.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, well, we tried,
So
kinda thought
that's,
this was gonna happen, but.
that's the, asked and answered. That's the answer. We got it.
Yeah, I think the risk is you still don't know what the response would be, right? So
That is correct too. That is
you're
correct.
not really going into this saying, we have a pre-approved
No.
program to, right.
That is also all correct. Yes.
I mean, tax incentives are always tricky, because then there's the people that just did the investment, like Crest, or like, hey, how come I didn't get that? There's also people, well, if you're trying to improve the tax rolls by giving the incentives, that's, you know, not
Yeah.
good for the town, so it's
Sure.
always a debatable,
It's, yes. You'll always have someone
Program.
unhappy.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
That's-
a
we
problem
could-
with our culture, society, with the whole whataboutism.
Yes,
It's like, let's just move forward.
yes, yes.
Okay, but you'll talk to First Selectman about maybe adding some,
To the website.
So-
Yes, that'll be my takeaway to do, and I will
so if at least someone does
report
a
back on that.
Google search or whatever
Yes.
on the website, they'll find a little information.
Okay. Good, okay, great. Next item is update on the EDC collaboration with 2030 Ad Hoc Committee. So,
And I've read in the news that you are,
yes, so I will recap, that was part 2 of that same meeting.
okay,
So what I asked for was that all of us be put on 2030, and that was rejected. Because there would be, she said that would be overwhelming for that logistically. Actually, when I left the meeting, that was still a possibility. But later, when I called to follow up, that's when I told them that they talked about it and decided it would be just too much for 2030. So I got added, as you saw, and actually it sounded like someone else in the committee had wanted to bring someone in as well. So 2 people got added. But what I made clear of my purpose for doing this is not just to sit on that, but that, and Beth and everybody else said yes to the idea that I could bring back actionable items from them for us to work on.
yeah,
Because
you're straddling.
But not even to just inform, but I mean, literally, we might say, okay, we'll work on that project, whatever that is.
Right.
So I'm gonna get direction, hopefully, from 2030 on, here's something that'd be great if the smart people in EDC could work on.
Yeah, like if it, like as a defined.
Define-
new business plan.
something defined.
We could do like a special economic.
It might even be working on a grant proposal, who knows, we'll see what we get from them. But that's on Tuesday, I'm gonna go to the next meeting, the first time, and that's exactly what I'm gonna say, but that was already made clear, in the discussion in the meeting. So I think that's good, because, I've been frustrated thinking, but all that stuff is the stuff we should be working on, so here's our way to work on that. Whatever that is.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, great. And really, that was it for that, so I'll have more next
I mean,
time
you should have been appointed automatically when you became chair, but,
to that group.
yeah, 'cause
Well,
Jeremy was appointed as chair,
Oh,
to that committee.
I see, Oh,
so,
now that, yeah, okay.
but whatever.
And then he got busier in life, it
Yeah.
seems, generally. Poor guy. Anything else on that topic, or, no, okay. Then our next item is if we have any update on the gift card program, which I doubt.
No, well, I mean,
But it's sort of in
a little bit. I whittled the list down to the actual viable business email addresses.
Okay.
And I've communicated with the point of contact at EFD to kind of like, again, like get the ball rolling again. I want a recommendation on like how to, do like a simple intro / pitch to and what works, what their experience is, and what works well with getting engagement and buy-in and so on. So, yeah, so that's that.
Can you, because it's been so long, can you just refresh my memory on this, what this program is?
So it's basically it's a website that acts as a hub for businesses, and it's basically like I don't know if it's like self-reported, if they have to self-report into that website, because I gotta refresh my memory on this, but it does, there's no cost to the business owner. There's a website that acts as a hub, and people can go to that website and get information about buying these gift cards for local businesses.
And they process it like a credit card?
And it's all digital.
It's all electronic.
It's all
on the
digital,
phone.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's very easy to work with their POS system, and it would function as a digital gift card on your smartphone. So
Is it activated with a barcode? Is that?
it's barcode or QR codes, or
Okay.
I mean some more. I don't even know. I gotta refresh my memory on that. But it's
So do you have a target date of when you wanna launch it?
Well, I want to communicate to the businesses. Hopefully, I would say by like mid-April. Hopefully. And side note, I saw the email about there was a new business.
Leo. Yeah.
Right, so,
Which has a nice selection of ice cream because I've shopped there.
Oh yeah, we go all the time.
Yeah, we did too.
what's the, latest with Betsy's replacement? Has that person been
Yes.
hired?
The person has been hired.
Okay.
Drum roll.
Okay.
It's actually somebody who was already in the office is switching to the.
Right, but there was conversation that functions had been
Ah.
changed and,
Oh, then I have not heard anything beyond the fact that that person is hired.
Oh.
But I have not heard anything, and that, we're gonna get support again that we used to have.
Well, that's my big question
What-
is, are we gonna have someone
Yeah.
filling the
Yeah.
the huge vacuum that
Yeah.
Betsy's departure
So you know what,
gave
I'll
us?
add that to my to-do, I will come back, with an email to everybody about what the answer to that is, and we'll know that shortly, so.
I mean, cause
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Her connection with the business community was
Great,
so valuable.
exactly. And what was the other, my mind is a sieve, what was the other thing I was gonna come back with?
So you were gonna have a conversation
Oh,
with Beth.
website and putting up, website, info on, tax abatement. And then the biggest thing, to make sure I said it clearly, is I hope to be coming back next month with stuff from 2030 for us to work on. So that's the biggest thing I had planned to do, hope to do.
And so going off the gift cards, do we have an operating budget this year? I know last year was like $3,000.
Yeah,
It was flat, right?
yes.
So we have $3,000.
well, fiscal year, you're saying,
Yeah, which is to June, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So we gotta spend money.
We
We
don't
have-
have to spend.
But we have almost nothing spent.
That's what I mean.
Yes,
So we could run an event.
We could, absolutely.
Or we
We'd
could
have,
use it to maybe put something out.
yes.
Do we wanna maybe talk about something like that? Or, maybe I shouldn't say that, but do we wanna pursue having an event? I know without Betsy here, that's a little bit of a tricky
It's harder.
spot. We just gotta get the email list to try to do that. I know like with spring coming up, like all of the stuff is gonna be over at the field, like we could always have something like that. Have, I don't care, an ice cream truck with a EDC banner. Did we get some sort of banner? Didn't Betsy get a banner made for EDC?
I vaguely remember her talking
You know what
about
I'm
it.
talking about?
I do remember her talking about it, but I
Good
do not
memory,
know.
cause that does ring,
She-
I might have missed that meeting, I don't know.
She was talking about
Okay.
things that might be useful for the EDC.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know if she ever did it.
Okay.
If she did, she didn't tell anybody.
Because I just, you know what I mean, as we look at like the events that are gonna be over here, like do we want to show up? I don't know how we do this, like we gotta start
Yeah.
propositioning businesses or
Yeah.
Right.
making connections, right? So we gotta just pick up an event and try something. at this
Right,
point.
yeah, no, I agree with that, absolutely. And something that could possibly dovetail with that is, and this is a question, is there gonna be some sort of community share back, like, of the results from the consultants from those three, community meetings?
Okay, I just wanna say that this is off agenda, it's a special meeting and we're
I
not
know.
supposed to add stuff to
I was
the
thinking
agenda.
it, but unfortunately, because until we file these, which is why we just approved the meetings.
Right.
And then they're regular. And until a meeting is regular, you can't add anything to the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, unfortunately.
But regarding the gift card program.
That was on.
It might be a good idea to spend some of our budget to promote it.
Right.
Whether it's a mailing or,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that would actually make a lot of sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Or do you wanna do them as giveaways for something, right? Like, the other thing is, you know, we always have those shredder events, we have the bring the paint days down at the dump. I know they're silly, but, you know, could we team up with the environmental team or something like that, that would be like,
Well,
we sit on these cards,
Yeah.
right? Even if we bought them and used them as a
yeah,
token.
but they're digital, so you can't pre-buy
Oh, so
them.
you're talking about there, so we had we had the gift cards that, the Woodbridge Bucks.
Right.
Right.
There was that,
This is
and then
different.
and then these are gift cards that, are, basically operated by, the third party vendor, and they're gift cards that are purchased by a consumer for a said shop within town. So we funded those Woodbridge Bucks, which were kind of like gift cards, so there was like two different things.
Would, in the spirit of what you're talking about, which I think I can still use a gift card umbrella for the agenda item, would that even possibly be that we talk about the gift cards at like some co-event with the 2030 group that's doing something with the public, that we participate in that?
That's what I'm saying, is
Yeah.
can we use them as a way,
Yeah,
like,
well, that, I've written that down as another thing I'm gonna
Okay.
bring up with
Yeah.
2030 now.
Okay.
So that falls under the talk about 2030 connection.
and then under
well.
the guise of the tax abatement proposal, I forgot, but back in January, I had reached out to the Yale, what's this group, what do you call it?
What's the brand of a gift card?
Yifty,
Yifty.
Y-I-F-T-E-E.
Double E.
Like Yale has an operating, what's the guy, what's the group that owns all the real estate for Yale?
Oh, I don't, that's not my.
I know it's not your
Yeah,
area, I just
yeah,
don't know it's not your area. But regardless, I dug up, found this person, I emailed her, no response. Makes sense. If I gave the draft email to Beth and started to use interact, like, should we be engaging with Beth since they want to,
They do.
Beth and finance and legal, if they don't want us to go forward with a program, if we were to start to directly kind of engage with different people around the community and the broader community, I'll send the draft email that I have. Do you think we could ask Beth to send it on our behalf?
To,
Well, this was like Yale Economic Development, it's not their
and
economic
saying,
development.
and with what is the purpose?
Well, thinking big, because we have a big problem, right? We have to find businesses or other partners within our area, right? So as we look at 2030 and redefining the business district, the, it's not the Amity area, what's over by, like where they're building new towers, where the coffee shop and stuff is, right down the hill from us. What's that area called? I can't remember.
Amity, it is Amity.
Flats?
No, but New
In New
Haven side.
Haven, you know,
New
in
Haven side.
Westville?
Oh, Westville.
Yeah, like Westville, right? They're doing a lot of development in Westville, right? Somebody clearly is making that
Westville
development.
has its own economic development.
So we should probably find out who those folks are, right?
Yes, I met them at the Wine and Cheese.
So it's, how do we start to engage with other economic development committees or
Yeah.
folks that
We
would
can
help
absolutely
us?
reach out and engage with other economic development committees on our own.
Okay.
You're saying to
I'm not sure
gain
what,
access.
that's what I'm wondering.
To potential developers.
Well,
Like,
yeah, so one, we gotta start to, and maybe this is our objective for the summer, right? Is, as we look forward, there's clearly a number of parcels and other things that we would look to try to put projects on. Under the guise of, the proposal, tax abatement proposal, other things. Obviously, we're gonna run into a lot of challenges with pursuing those, but if we don't try, I don't know how we start to make any progress, so.
Brian, that's actually the whole reason I pushed to join 2030.
Okay,
Because at least from what I understand, what's gonna come out of that is a plan,
right,
that will have things on, specific things
so I'm thinking
for us
ahead
to work on to move forward.
right.
And I'm thinking ahead of, okay, when we get the 2030 proposal, it would be good for us to have some initial contacts of people that could or would be willing to invest in or be interested in that project.
So I think, I hear where you're going. I think there maybe are two different things here. Are we in bounds with this
Not really, but
conversation?
I'm not writing anything down.
Uh,
We're not
there's,
voting, so.
in
No.
in my small mind, there's 2030, right?
Right.
Which is I'm gonna call it an infrastructure-based project, right? And without knowing what the infrastructure infrastructure is.
How can we do anything?
It's difficult to go out and start knocking on doors and saying, there's a fictitious thing that's going to,
The whole reason
well, it's not
why,
fictitious, it'll be real someday. We don't know what it is, what it'll look like, but.
that's again the whole point.
So, yeah, but I mean, I think you're talking 5 years out? I mean, if you, to put a timeline to it. I
Tony
think-
was talking about grant money that we should be looking for right now,
Right,
for specific things that 2030 will bring back to the table that the consultants are gonna put together.
okay, cause I'm kinda looking at 2030 as like kind of laying out, these are the boundaries and this is.
You know, I'll know more,
Right,
I think all I'm suggesting is, one, no one knows what the EDC does. We have a website, right?
right,
It's more of a, okay, we've been doing this for now 6 months. We've tried to do the proposal.
Yes.
So we have a little bit of background now on
Yes.
what we can and cannot do.
sure.
Unfortunately, when Betsy left, right, we lost that connection to that EDC community, if you will, and now I think it's like upon us now to start to
It is,
engage.
you're absolutely right.
So I think like,
I think it makes sense to do an event, and that's why I will, as I wrote down, let's see also if 2030 would want to do it with us,
Yeah.
if they think that that would be a meeting, and they might say no, and then we'll figure out something on our own.
we may need to think outside of 2030,
Okay,
right? Like what other, while that's going on, what are more near-term,
sure.
you said parcels, okay, that are not within the box, right? Because that, to me, that's.
Cause 2030, I know the consultants, they have the boundaries of
Right.
the village, but and is that the boundaries for 2030 as well, or are
I'll
they
have to
able?
find out.
Yeah, cause,
I thought the consultants though were showing projects running all the way up at Amity Road. When we went to the thing at the brewery, too.
Right,
okay.
Right, weren't they?
I mean, partially up the hill, but not
road
really.
improvements,
Yeah,
not much else.
yeah,
cause I think where you were getting at is there's other things beyond that, the boundary of the village or the flats or whatever,
but
right?
well too,
That we
like,
can explore.
but if we've also now been tasked with, if there's a development or something that is going to come into town and we are supposed to be helping to usher forward a proposal, do we need to do anything?
Well, we could always solicit, yes, and I asked early on, when I joined this now, it feels like now a long time ago, I said, is there anything to stop me from calling people who own land? You know, and I was told no, as long as you're not crazy, you know.
Back to Yifty, have we, because when I look at their website, you know, I know it's all digital, but they still design a look to the,
Yes,
do we have that look designed yet? The card designed yet, like a
No,
logo
no.
or anything?
No.
So how do we do that? Like, do they do the design services? Do I need to enlist my graphic designer daughter to help? You know,
I will ask that question.
we had a design for the Woodbridge box, you know, should we be using that?
do we want to have any more discussion on the gift card program?
No.
Okay. The next agenda item and the final agenda item for the special meeting is updates and announcements.
So I have an announcement. The Community Economic Development Strategy, the 5-year plan, if you remember Barb Malmberg and Amy
Yes.
Kozlowski came in last year. So now the 5-year plan, that was an update, an annual update. The 5-year plan now has to be presented and approved. So there's a draft on the Rex Development webpage. It's you know, time for public comment. It's a pretty tight deadline. I don't know if they're gonna be coming by again.
And they're looking for comments?
Yes.
Okay. I get the Rex updates.
Yeah,
Would it
so
be in
the
there?
last week's update.
Have the,
I think
okay,
so.
okay. Those are really interesting, by the way, if anybody's, you're all getting them already, okay. Thank you for your announcement. Does anyone else have an update or an announcement to share?
I mean, I would just remind us that we need to get some recruits.
For our 2 open slots?
Yeah.
Yes,
Who else is, wait, so how many total do we have?
8. Well, we're 6 now with Jeremy, and we have
Okay.
2 vacancies. So would that be for me to also remind Beth, because that would really come from them? Would you like me to do that?
Well,
I'm happy to.
I wouldn't. That's fine. I don't know. I don't know if we would want to just like narrow it to only that avenue. I mean, maybe get creative and. I mean, I've been. Whenever I speak to people, I mention it, and I think it would be wise just to kind of spread the word.
Okay.
Broadly.
So if you guys, I know nobody in town. You're the 5 people I know in town. So I'm useless for that.
Okay.
But if you people who are more connected in town
Yeah.
have ideas, that'd be great. Yeah. Cleo, do you have anybody that you might think might be a good fit to
I'll have to think
think
about
about?
that.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Find somebody like Brian who sits at home watching our meetings and then is like.
I tried to go on
like-
2030
like-
first
like-
and I
like-
also
like-
got rejected.
Like chomping at the bit, like
I didn't know
I
which
want
one
to be
was
on.
Chomping at the bit. Those are
Robert,
empty
was
spaces.
there, when you had your conversation with Beth, you were gonna talk a little bit about our role as
Yes.
EDC.
And yes, and I did do that.
Yeah.
Sorry. And I said I prefaced it in that meeting by saying it seems like all the things that when we collectively came up with. Remember, we spent a few months looking at all those old documents and honing
Yeah.
it. And here's our list of the 6 things. And most of those things seem to be in 2030, which is why I wanted to connect us more with that.
Right,
And so that's when, that was the response I got to our idea of taking direction for 2030 on projects and working on them. She said it was a good idea. She also said, of course, if something comes up that would have been going to you guys anyway, whatever that may be, you would still want to work on that. And I said, sure.
okay.
If you look back at the, remember we had goals?
Yeah,
To me, those goals, the important ones on that are really in the 2030.
But
So-
does the town have a goal? Like I read through
Did you read?
strategic plan.
You did, okay,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
And, you know, it doesn't seem like it really kind of quantifies.
There is
you know,
no town
how-
planner, like we don't have, some places are larger enough
Yeah,
and they've got somebody who's actually guiding this, there's no one person guiding our town's economic growth, which is part of the problem. Personally, I saw what was coming out of 2030 as the creation of a strategic plan. Or at least that's what I think it's gonna be. That's why I thought, well, let's get involved in that. And
right.
see if we can get that to be the strategic plan that we could then find actionable projects from.
Right.
So that's all what I hope to ask, find out, and so on, next week. And see if they're thinking the same way.
Yeah, because when I read through the plan, right, it was very clear. Like we want to grow and diversify the grant list,
Yes,
right, and that's
that's
clearly
great, but yeah. But how? And who?
by how much and by when.
Yeah.
Like what does that really look like? Like it's to give maybe a little more.
I am not gonna get that out of 2030 either.
No,
I know that.
I know.
That would be more like, we see what we get from 2030 and maybe we go back to the Board of Selectmen and say, well, here's an idea. We think, can we do the following? I don't think we're gonna get the direction that you're looking for.
Well,
That's the
I'm,
nicest way I can say it.
yeah, but, okay.
Yeah, it's up to us.
Yes.
And
Right.
unfortunately, we're gonna do like 10 things and maybe.
Well, no, but I mean, we can operate under the every little bit helps and we'll know it when we see it,
Yeah.
right? Which,
And, you know,
okay,
there's nothing, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. So if you got an idea and it's sane, let's try it.
All right.
Any other updates or announcements?
I have no further updates.
So next month will be our first real meeting again?
Our
April?
first,
Regular.
Regular meeting?
yes, we will have a regular meeting where we could bring new topics
Okay.
to the floor, yes. And like I said, I'm gonna make sure that I can come back with at least as much information as I can get on the points I
Yeah.
was saying I will follow up on,
Yeah.
for sure.
I just noticed next month is in the middle of spring break week.
Our meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I'm gonna be out of town.
okay.
I don't know if that impacts anybody
Oh,
else.
God, man, yeah. So our meeting, was gonna be
The
on,
13th or 4th, what's the Thursday?
yeah, I'm leaving the next day, so that's why I thought, oh, that's okay, I'm
Yeah.
going out on the 14th,
yeah, the schools are off that
that week.
week. Yeah.
So is that an unrealistic week, and should we move the?
Well, no, I mean, I know it will be for me, I mean,
Okay.
I'm in California, so.
Okay, the week before is Easter,
Right,
yeah, Easter weekend.
Beecher and the middle school are the same week, that week of the 10th.
Is April 13th gonna be a problem for anyone else other than Scott?
I'm not going
That
there.
I know of.
Clea?
No,
Okay,
as long as the meeting's short.
the meeting will be short, okay, so we will have a short meeting on the 13th, okay. Great. Okay. Anybody want to motion that we close the meeting?
Also moved.
Second,
Second.
and we all approve the closing of the meeting,
yeah.
thank you.